So this lesson builds off our knowledge of adding and subtracting fractions, but the only thing we change now is what do we do if there's an unlike denominator, okay? It's going to happen, and as you progress into middle school and higher level maths, it's going to happen more and more. Always remember that we're always doing some kind of version of the 4 basic operations: adding, subtracting, division, and multiplication, okay? Now, what we need to know is denominators can only change digits by multiplying or dividing, okay? You can't add or subtract to change a denominator. Secondly, and this is where I messed up in the last lesson, if you're going to change the top, then you have to change the bottom the exact same way. If you do it to the top, you do it to the bottom, and vice versa. You're going to hear me say it, and hear me say it, and hear me say it, okay? It's going to be like a little mantra in your sleep. You're going to be rolling over. If you do it to the top, do it to the bottom. Really, I hope you don't still suck your thumb. I don't. Okay? The third thing I need you to always check for is simplifying. Simplifying your fractions, and I want you to check by dividing by, I told you 6 numbers yesterday. Today I'm telling you 5. 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9. I left 4 out because if a number is divisible by 2, you don't need to worry about 4. You can just keep dividing out by 2, all right? The fourth thing, and this is the 4th rule to Marriott's fractions, you cannot add or subtract until the denominators are the same. You can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. Kids want to try to do it, but it doesn't work out. That's not how fractions go, okay? So let's jump right in there with an example. First things first, 3/4 plus 1/2. I'm using fairly simple fractions, but to get the point across. You'll notice their denominators are the same. Aren't the same. The first thing I have to do is give them a common denominator, or there's nothing else I can do. I'm frozen mathematically until I give them a common denominator. All right? Now, what jumps out at me, you could have a lot of different denominators. They have common multiples. 2 and 4 have common multiples of 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, etc., etc., etc. Could you take 3/4 and try to divide by 2 to make it halves? Sure, but don't. In almost no case is it going to work for you. The better strategy is always to let the digits of your fraction go up. Okay, make your equivalent fraction by multiplying, not trying to divide. I'm going to go ahead and pick 4 because I like to use the least common denominator, which is the smallest number that they have in common. 2 can be turned into 4. I don't even have to mess with 3/4 if I can do that. It's less work on me. Now, if you chose to make your denominators 8 or you chose to make them 12, that's fine. Just make sure that you are consistent with how you change your fractions, okay? For example, I took 1/2, I multiplied 2 by 2 to get 4. If I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. 1 times 2 is 2. I'm leaving 3/4 alone. I get 5/4 when I add 3 plus 2, but I got to check for simplifying. Improper fraction is not the simplest form. I have 1 full set of fourths with an extra part left over. We know that. We know this also reads as 5 divided by 4, which is going to give you 1 remainder 1. Okay, which we put into our mixed number. Now this one I did so I can do it with you as we go along. 3/5 plus 2/3. I'm using a snazzy purple today. I only know it's purple because someone told me. I'm going to take 3/5. I'm going to add it to 2/3. I'm automatically thinking I'm frozen until I come up with the common denominator. All right? I really want to come up with some kind of rendition for Let It Go right there, but the words aren't coming to me. I'm sure. There's one there. All right, so I could do a lot of things. I could take one that I know off the top of my head. I could list out multiples of 5 and 3. But one strategy that I like to tell kids to do, if you get stuck or you're in a rush, it's going to cost at times more simplifying than you really want to do. Just multiply your denominators together. Just like when you are comparing fractions and you're using the cross multiplying strategy, we know what kind of fan I am of that. 5 times 3 is 15 for a common denominator of 15. All right? But how did I get 15 out of 5? I multiplied it by 3. If I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. 3 times 3 is 9. All right, now here I have to do the same thing. How did 3 become 15? We did times 5. If I do it to the bottom, I got to do it to the top. I'm not multiplying 2 by 3. Remember, each fraction is its own number. I got to go ahead and do 2 times 5. 9 fifteenths plus 10 fifteenths. Denominators are always the same. We don't add them together. Do not add them together. 9 plus 10 is 19. Well, now it's a matter of revising or regrouping because this is an improper fraction. Well, we have one full set of 15, and then we have 4 fifteenths left. Now, as you become a stronger mathematician, the factors of 4 and the factors of 15 are going to jump out at you, and you're going to know this is in its simplest form. But check. The factors for 4 are 1, 2, and 4. 1, of course, goes into 15, but it doesn't make sense to divide by 1. Can't divide 15 by 2, and you can't divide 15 by 4, so they're in simplest form. Okay? Give it a common denominator. Change the fraction equally, times 5 times 5, times 3 times 3. Add, simplify. It's that easy. Subtraction. Just like the last lesson, the rules of subtraction are exactly the same as well. Okay? If I have 7/8 minus 3/4, the first thing I have to do is I have to get them some kind of common denominator. I cannot subtract them if they're not in the same form. So, what I've chosen this time, instead of just multiplying the two denominators together, because that would have given us 32 in this case, I knew 8 and 4 both went into 16. It's a math fact that I've known a long time. I get 14/16 because I take 8 times 2 and 7 times 2. If you do it to the bottom, you have to do it to the top. I get 12/16 because I do 4 times 4 is 16 and 3 times 4 is 12. Now it's just subtracting. 14 minus 12 is 2, 2/16. Then I have to simplify. They're both even. I'm going to divide by 2. I'm going to get 1/8. Okay. Now I've got another one here that we're going to do together, but don't forget to simplify. 4/6 minus 3/5. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and multiply the two fractions together for a common denominator of 30. When I say fractions, I really mean multiply the denominators together. But I get, do it to the bottom, do it to the top. 5 times 6 is 30. 3 times 6 is 18. 5 times 6 is 30. Got to go by 5 over here. 5 times 4 is 20. The most common things that kids will do is that when you guys get in a rush and you guys start running through your math, you'll do 30, 30, times 6, and then you'll want to times 6 over there. Not because you don't know better, but just because you're rushing. Slow down, okay? We hurt ourselves more by rushing and being sure. Think of how many times in class you've seen me make mistakes, okay? Now, 20/30 minus 18/30 equals 2/30. Uh-oh. They're both even. Please don't miss that. Divide by 2, top and bottom. And I'm going to get 1/15 as an answer. Now, I know what you're saying. In both cases, our answer, well, not in that one. In this case, our answer is a denominator that we didn't even start with. And 6 can't even turn into 15. But that's fine because we're talking about the equivalency of our answer. 6 can be 30. Then we have to simplify that answer. Don't connect the simplified answer to the subtraction problem necessarily. That's going to goof some kids up too, but don't sweat it. Okay? Give yourself a common denominator. Do it to the bottom, do it to the top. Subtract, simplify. It's that easy. I promise. Okay? Let's do some try-its today. Tonight, what I want you to do, I want you to try to take 3/10 and add it to 1/4. All right? Remember, you can just multiply the denominators together. You can list out the factors and find the lowest common factor. Usually there's going to be less simplifying involved if you do it that way. You can do those two ways pretty much. The next thing I want you to do is 5/7 minus 1/3. The third triad is 1/2 plus 4/10. And the fourth triad is 12/15 minus 2/3. Yes, I want all 4 of your answers in simplest form. And we are still working on moving towards a Cornell note-taking system, I want you to put a 1 to 2 sentence summary of the lesson that's in your own words. Okay? Don't use my words. I'll know them. I said them. See you tomorrow.